We can speak now to Avigail Ababarbanel, who's a peace activist and author. Avigail, thank you so much for your time. You were born in Israel. You are Jewish. So how do you feel about what the Israeli military is doing in the name of your state and maybe even in the name of your religion?
I am not religious, and Israel is no longer my state, because in 2001 I renounced my Israeli citizenship in protest, 10 years after I moved to Australia. What Israel is doing today is started basically last October on today, is just the next phase in its settler colonial plan to remove all the non-Jewish indigenous people of Palestine, historic Palestine, and replace them with Jews. I obviously feel absolutely terrible about it. Whatever background I come from, I'm a human being, and when human beings are being subjected to genocide and to the impact of settler colonialism, there is no question in my mind which side I should be in. This is not time for tribalism. This is a time to support our fellow human beings who are being assaulted by a state supported by massive Western powers intent on removing the entire Palestinian population.
I don't suppose Benjamin Netanyahu has convinced you, given your first answer, but maybe he's convinced the majority of the Israeli population that this is, as he says, an existential war for his country. Is that realistic, that Hamas could threaten the entire existence of Israel?
No, but this is a common narrative in all settler colonial and colonial powers right through history for thousands of years. Colonial powers or settler colonial powers go in and want to take whatever belongs to the indigenous population and remove them, destroy them, destroy their opposition, destroy their legitimate resistance. Of course, the colonial power is going to say that they're under existential threat. What else are they going to say? There is no other way to justify the wholesale killing of an entire people and replacing them with your people. On top of that, there's also the Israeli culture. Israel hijacked the idea of Jewishness, and a lot of it is deeply rooted in an idea that Jews are always victims, forever victims, the only victims in history, the people who've had the worst treatment in all of human history. And Israel is supposedly the only safe haven, the only place that Jews have to escape the next Holocaust. So yes, people in Israel are brainwashed. But as a psychotherapist and as a human being, I do not accept and do not understand the absence of empathy. At the end of the day, if your country or your people or even your own family are doing bad things to other people, some form of empathy, something should awaken in people's minds to let them know that it's not okay. So yes, in Israel, there's massive brainwashing. I was subjected to it. It took me years to overcome it. It's almost like deprogramming from a cult. But empathy should be the guide for people. It doesn't matter who the people are that are being abused or harassed or oppressed or killed. They are our fellow human beings, and that's the only thing that should matter, including to Israelis.
In Israel, many people who express your views, Avigail, are said to be anti-Semitic. There's a distinguished geographer, you may have heard of him, you almost certainly have, Oren Yiftakel, if I've pronounced his name properly, formerly head of the human rights group, the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem, and he has been described as being anti-Zionist. Can you explain the difference between Judaism and Zionism? I mean, what is this war being fought under which pretext, Judaism or Zionism?
Zionism is the settler colonial movement of the Jewish people, which began in the late 19th century. If people want to read about it, I recommend any book by Professor Ilan Pappé, and Professor Rashid Khalidi as well. We're covering his book right now in a book club on Palestine called The 100-Year War on Palestine. This is a Zionist settler colonial project. Judaism is incidental to it, not to mention Israel has hijacked the definition of Jewishness. And you need to understand that Israel's understanding of what Jewishness means is racial. I'm Jewish only because my birth certificate says so, because allegedly my blood is Jewish. For a country like Israel that is supposedly so technologically advanced and so full of high-level knowledge, to continue to hold on to outdated ideas of race is appalling. And their academics should be speaking out, and they're not speaking out. Jewishness has got Israel's got nothing to do with Jewishness. It defines itself as a Jewish state, but you know, if you're an Israeli Jew, you could be Buddhist and you're still Jewish because allegedly your blood is Jewish. I'm not religious. I don't follow Jewish religion, and I don't believe in anything that the Jewish religion is telling. What makes me Jewish is what Israel says that I am, and I think the world needs to understand that when Israel defines itself as racially Jewish, when somebody objects to the state of Israel, then they can call them racist. They can say you're anti-Semitic. It's completely nonsensical and it's wicked, because real anti-Semitism was the cause of horrendous abuse and harassment and expulsions and pogroms and ultimately the genocide against Jews for hundreds of years in Europe. So this was real anti-Semitism. It's the opposition, the hatred of people who are following the Jewish religion. In Israel, this is not what's happening. It's got nothing to do with it. And Israel using the accusation of anti-Semitism is nothing more than an attempt to deflect from the real issue. And the real issue is a human rights issue. It's a settler colonial issue. The international community standing with Israel is in blatant violation of international law. Israel has long Israel's actions have long fallen under the definition, the United Nations definition of genocide, which is under the United Nations Charter on genocide, on prevention of genocide. So Israel has no leg to stand on, and anybody who supports Israel is breaking international law, not to mention is morally reprehensible.
Avigail Ababarbanel, thank you very much for your time, Avigail.
Thank you so much for having me.